Hi everyone, it's Joe Sharp Untethered. Today I want to go back in time a bit and dive into a topic that's all too real for anyone who is navigating the higher education system and employment. And that is credential inflation. But specifically, I want to talk about an idea I had roughly 25 years ago in Professor Steingold's Soc 3300 class, and it was called the Indentured replacement theory of credential inflation. I realized while attending higher education that the higher education itself was an economic trap for its students. Let's get into it. Degrees, and more degrees. Yesterday it seemed like you couldn't get a decent job without at least a bachelor's degree. Then it became a master's degree. Now we see job postings say that a bachelor's degree and 1 to 3 years of experience is required for a job making $12 an hour. So why is this happening, and how did we get here? First, we have to discuss the indentured replacement theory of credential inflation, bit by bit. First, there's the replacement worker aspect of the economy, and that's where the replacement comes in. And don't get triggered by the word replacement. It has nothing to do with the Great Replacement Conspiracy Theory. That is not the theory I'm talking about. I am talking about how new college graduates enter the market to replace the number of people leaving the market in order to achieve economic and labor stability. It's a pretty simple concept. People retire or leave a position, and a replacement worker comes in to fill it. In a healthy system, according to the Department of Labor, the number of new entries into the workforce matches the number of workers leaving. In an unhealthy system, there is a skill to job opening mismatch, and you will see new entries into the job market not finding work in their educational fields or being under or entirely unemployed. Now we have to define credential inflation. And it's another simple concept. Over time, more and more people obtain degrees, which makes the value of each degree decline. Jobs that used to require only a high school education suddenly require a bachelor's degree. Those that required some college degree now require a master's degree or more. It's like monetary inflation just with degrees. So how does the need to replace workers lead to credential inflation? Well, credential inflation is a systematic method of delaying the onset of full employment to keep students as students for a longer period of time. It allows for those who are in the job market currently to have additional time to earn wages, to earn their pensions, build their retirement funds before exiting the workforce with full benefits. We all know that the greatest generation and the silent generation were able to get good paying jobs and live decent lives with barely a 9th grade to high school education. Manufacturing jobs were plentiful, and new industries like automotive, construction, and other manufacturing sectors were hot. Then afterward, the baby boomers took advantage of all that economic output and continued to work with very little formal education themselves in fields like construction, manufacturing, middle management, with some of the more educated getting into accounting and medical fields as college degrees were becoming more common, mostly due to how inexpensive they were at the time, but also that they themselves went through market replacement needs. So enter Gen X, who had to compete with the boomers' college degrees, or compete with those low-skill workers who simply had been entrenched in their positions. But because the roles were lower paying, they could not save for retirement, and so they had to work for a longer period of time. And to make matters worse, the manufacturing economy was shifting to a global market thanks to NAFTA, signed by George H.W. Bush in 1988. And you can see it here. That after a slight initial decline, there was another 66% drop in manufacturing jobs in only a 10-year span. So not only was there increased competition for jobs with the boomers' college degrees and those boomers who were low skill but entrenched, there was also an insane loss of jobs in one of the biggest sectors of the economy. Thus, the Gen Xers employment had to be postponed, and the Gen Xer would soon become the first generation to really have to up their educational game. Now we need to discuss the indentured aspect of this theory. Remember, it's the indentured replacement theory of credential inflation. So, while credential inflation delays gainful employment of potential workers, at the same time, the system also entraps the students in a form of indenture through high-interest student loan debt, making it difficult, if not unlikely, that these cohorts entering the workforce will be able to exit at retirement with the full benefits at the same age as the prior generation. This is where the indentured part of the theory comes in. The system was not accidental. In order to keep up with the rising educational demands, people had to take on more schooling. And because they weren't gainfully employed in jobs with living wages, they had to take on debt to pay for it. That's the indentured part. Students end up paying tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars for degrees that they felt they had to get in order to be competitive, even though the degrees didn't guarantee a better salary or job security. Think about it. Students may or may not even have graduated, but they went on with massive debt, often without jobs that could pay enough to justify the cost of the degree. I mean, the financial burden traps them in what is a modern form of indentured servitude. They're only working to pay off the loans that they had to take out to get the degree in the first place because there were no jobs available because of bad policy and high competition. The end result is what we have known for a while, that in subsequent generations it only got worse, and many millennial and Gen Zers are delaying milestones of young adulthood, such as home ownership and creation of families. I mean, the tropes that credential inflation is happening because employers are using degrees as an easy way to filter job applicants has a hand in it too. Because there are so many people applying for the same jobs, companies can afford to be picky, and using the degree becomes a quick shortcut to narrow down the pool. But it all stems from a lack of jobs. Most of these jobs don't need a degree to perform. They never did. The degree was only used to postpone people entering into the job market. The government has a vested interest in keeping the unemployment rates low. You don't count as unemployed if you are in school. They say that now we are in a knowledge-based economy, a knowledge-based information economy, and therefore you need advanced degrees in order to get these jobs, to make yourself more marketable, to become upwardly mobile. And the universities are happy to sell you that lie. They have turned the engine of education into a business, a big business, and that lie is what keeps it perpetuated. They're happy to sell you that idea that more degrees equal more opportunities, but it is largely untrue, mostly untrue, unless you're getting into a very specialized field that also happens to be in high demand. Higher education exists now not to benefit students, but to transfer students' future wealth into the pockets of the university. That statement there wasn't part of my original theory, but it is worth considering, especially when it comes to solving the problem. University endowments are the remaining earnings of the investment each student made to the college in paying their tuition. It's a savings account that the student has no access to. Sure, there are other revenue sources that go into universities' budget, like state and federal grants, gifts, merchandise, and sports events. But state and federal funding has decreased, and the majority of university revenue comes from tuition itself. Between 1963 and 2020, the cost of attending a four-year college increased 250%. 250%. Have university expenditures increased like that? Absolutely not. They've been hoarding the money. Since 1983, the sum value of university endowments has increased 1,639%. 1,639%. And university endowments increased roughly the exact rate of student loan debt, minus their expenditures. So just parsing the data from 2006 to 2021, it's really difficult to get data prior to 2006 on student loan debt. But Just in that time span, we can see that endowments grew 444%, and the total federal loan debt went up 502%. That's extremely close. That is statistically significant. And although university endowments did grow at a lower rate, consider this: universities spend about 90 to 100 billion a year on research and development, and those endowment sizes fluctuate based on market conditions. So it's not difficult to see the difference. There's also bad investment, neglectful waste, unnecessary construction projects, funding poor research proposals, and of course, implementing bloated programs. The point is this: student loan debt has been captured by the university system. It exists, it's still there, it's in the hands of the university. If you want to forgive student loans, not one taxpayer needs to pay for it, but the colleges and universities that stole the money do. Listen, the indentured replacement theory of credential inflation does hold water over time. It does hold water. I'm happy to say it was an original idea and it holds water. The last 25 years have proven it. But the real question is, how does it affect society and how do we fix it? Well, for one, the problem continues to make education way more expensive. People sink deeper into debt with little guarantee of high-paying jobs at the end of the line. The debt can hold people back from, like I said, buying homes, starting families, or following their natural love because they need to get that job to pay off that loan. On top of that, as more degrees flood the market, employers ask for even higher credentials and additional years of experience, pushing more and more people into advanced degrees just to keep up. It is a never-ending cycle that needs to end. Now, what's the solution? Well, first and foremost, we need to seize university endowments and use them to pay off the student loan debt. It is not that cohort and a subsequent cohort's fault that bad policy was made, driving jobs away and selling the lie that a university degree is the only path forward. We also need to end subsidizing university education with federally guaranteed debt, as it only raises costs on the university side. So we need to seize university assets in the endowments, pay off those student loans, and discontinue the student loan program 100%. On top of that, higher education institutions need to be accountable. They are not accountable at all. I know this from personal experience. They need to be forced to restructure their bureaucratic structures and reduce overall waste. And culturally, we need to rethink how we promote education. We should not push everyone in traditional four-year degrees. Definitely should not promise better jobs if a degree is received. But on top of that, we also need, as a country, to massively reinvest in our manufacturing economy. Globalization was a nightmare visited on this country, and we saw it, just a real small example, with the supply chain disruptions over COVID. And we will see that again unless we take back some of our manufacturing. It's also a national security debacle waiting to happen. Aside from that, we need to also culturally value vocational training, apprenticeships, and real-world experience much more than a college degree. If we do, more people will see those careers as viable options, and they are. And there's been talk about policy changes like free or reduced cost college tuition. And I would support that only under the right circumstances. Even employer-led training programs are important. They used to exist. They were faded out over the last 20 years. Those policies are viable. They need a firm commitment by our policymakers. Well, that's it for today, everyone. Hopefully, this gives you a better understanding of the indentured replacement theory of credential inflation and why so many people feel trapped in the education debt cycle. What do you think? Should the system change? Let me know in the comments below. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the world. Until next time, take care.